Welcome to the MZone Basics video for Tournament Indicator. This video will show you how to manually calculate the M ratio in a tournament. Then I will break down the M ratio into the color zones and explain some of the implications of being in that zone. Finally, we will discuss the importance of knowing your M zone and how to execute decisions based on which M zone you are in at a given stage of the tournament. But firstly, let's look at the M formula right now. M equals your stack divided by the small blind added to the big blind added to the antes of every player at the table. Now you can see that this is more exact and pertinent than just counting big blinds. Let's look at an example right now. In this full tilt tournament, there are 9 players at the table with the blinds at 400 and 800 and the ante at 100. I'm going to look at 2 stacks at the table so we can calculate the M and compare their M zones against each other. Knowles has 11,885 chips. We can do that one first. If we plug in those numbers into the formula, we can see Knowles' stack is at 11,885 divided by 400 plus 800 plus 9 times 100. These are the antes, these are the blinds. If you're doing this calculation right now, you should come out to something very close to 5.9. Let's go back to the table and we'll see here that Pure Random has 27,435 chips. So let's calculate his M ratio. Again, his stack, 27,435 divided by 400 plus 800 plus 9 times 100. His M ratio comes out to 13.7. You can round up to 1 decimal point. Keep in mind that some tables have 10 players, which will affect this, and some tournament tables may have 6, 7, or 8 players, depending on how many players have been eliminated recently and those seats not being filled. Let's have a look now at the 5 colors of M zones. The gray zone has an M ratio of 0 to 1. The red zone means your M ratio is between 1 and 5. If you happen to be in the orange zone, that means your M ratio is between 5 and 10. Here are some good spots to be. In the yellow zone, you will have an M ratio of 10 to 20. And of course, the best spot to be would be over 20. Anything over 20 is considered the green zone. Now, as we've calculated the stacks for those 2 players, we now know that Knowles has 5.9 and is just barely in the orange zone, while P Random, with its 13.7 M ratio, is pretty much squarely in the yellow zone. But what exactly does this mean in regards to tournament play? Well, therein lies the whole premise of the MZone strategy, especially in the second half of a tournament. If you are in the green zone, you're in a comfortable place to play poker. All players start out the tournament in the green zone. This M zone allows for the widest range of playing styles. If you're sitting to the left of a green M zone player, you can expect your blinds to have pressure upon them. They also have big stack bully capability and capable of playing strong near the money play to build the stack even more. They're pretty much assured of cash if they're playing near the money, save for a fatal play. They can force heads up with small stacks, even as an underdog. And they can play numerous underdog hands and still come out ahead. The yellow MZone is a relatively comfortable MZone. It allows for a moderate range of playing styles, mostly position though. Blind stealing, again, is to be expected. As a yellow stack though, you do want to be careful about playing against a bigger stack. Probably avoiding it is the best thing. A yellow MZone player is also capable of strong near-the-money play to build their stack even more. It's pretty much assured of cash near the money as well, save for a fatal play. They can force heads up with small stacks as an underdog. And they can play some all-in situations with small stacks and survive. An orange MZone player is a medium stack MZone. This type of player must play solid hands and solid positions. However, they are vulnerable to aggressive big and short stacks. A contentious hand can mean a decision for the whole tournament. They're capable of strong near-the-money play for experienced tournament players. Cashing in a tournament may mean risking their whole stack near the money. A player in this MZone is probably going to avoid big pots without very strong cards. An orange MZone player can also apply some pressure to other tight stacks. Now on to the red zone. A red zone is a low stack MZone. They must play hands with potential, all in, trying to get heads up. The main objective is to double up and look for position moves. Every hand, if you are in the red MZone, is a decision for your tournament. Because your stack is low, you may get called by multiple big stacks. Cashing in when you're playing in the red MZone is probably unlikely unless a double or a triple up comes very soon. Keep in mind that a red MZone player is looking for an opportunity, and that's just as important as their strength in hole cards. Opponents of a player in the red zone will be looking to trap and conquer. Now the worst place to be in. It's called the gray MZone. It's a desperate stack MZone. You may have to play any two cards all in heads up. Just hoping for live cards against one player is probably your best play. Really, in the gray MZone, you're on life support. You may be forced to fold any two if you are actually on the bubble. Your decision is for survival, guaranteed. You will get called by multiple opponents. Cashing is unlikely in a tournament because you need consecutive pots, and we all know how hard that is to come by. There's little opportunity when you are a gray MZone. Luck, and lots of it, is needed to stay alive. Opponents will eagerly call with anything here. Now we saw that PR Random's M ratio put him squarely in the M zone, and these are the factors that he would be facing. Remember, the yellow zone is from 10 to 20. And we saw that Noel's stack was 5.9. He will be faced with these factors in making decisions. Let's take a look and see what happens when the blinds increase. We can see at present situation is 13.7 and 5.9, the yellow zone and the orange zone for those two players. But let's say that the blinds have gone up. The small blind is now 600, the big blind is 1200, the ante is 150, but there are still 9 players at the table. Let's assume the exact same stack size. Look what happens. This is how big a difference just a simple blind raise can make to your M ratio and thus your M zone. It's also why you have to know these and keep track of them while playing in a tournament. Because now, as you can see, Knowles has dropped squarely in the middle of the red zone, which is do or die, basically. In the orange zone, PR Random finds himself not so comfortable anymore. As you can see, his M went from 13.7 to 8.7, and that is just based on the new antes and new blinds, without him losing anything in his stack. When you're playing a tournament, if you have this knowledge behind you, you are going to know how to preempt your play and select opportunities to chip up or get out of the tournament. Let's look at something here in what actually happened in that tournament later on. Now we're looking at those same two players a couple of blinds later. The blinds are now 800 and 1600 with 200 ante. This is actual play as opposed to the scenario we just went through. Knowles has dropped down to 5255 in chips, while Pure Random has chipped up rather nicely to 51,485. This looks rather nice, but let's compare it to the blinds, which are now 800 and 1600 with a 200 ante. As we can see, there are still 9 players in the tournament. The calculations of the M zone may surprise you in that Random is still in the yellow zone, even though he has nearly doubled up since we last calculated his stack. Not only that, at 12.3 he is very close to the orange zone, where his strategy will have to be changed substantially. The biggest fear a yellow M zone player has should be falling into the orange M zone. Right now, he is close enough to the orange M zone to consider adjusting his playing style. As for Knowles' stack, he has been decimated into the red zone with a 1.3 M ratio and is on the doorstep of the gray zone, where only luck is going to save him. In certain situations, however, this player may just keep folding if he is that close to the money. The idea here is that it's unlikely to get any higher payouts, so making the money would be considered a success. And based on a small bankroll, there's nothing wrong with that strategy. Okay, I hope this presentation helps you understand the basic concepts of the MZone tournament strategy. I found that by using it while playing, I never doubted my decisions afterwards if they didn't work out. I was able to make the money often enough using this system that by the sheer fate of probabilities, my play would get me to the final table often enough where I would be able to challenge for good money payouts. I use Tournament Indicator now in all of my tournaments and have a video series that goes more in depth. You can actually watch me play using Tournament Indicator. You will be able to see how I make my decisions in game critical situations using all of the software features, including the MZone strategy. I invite you to sign up at mzonereport.com.